I love mud buildings, beautifully organic and virtually made from the soil and earth that they're standing on. Amazingly, there are medieval buildings and walls surviving today, so they are incredibly robust. But they're also brilliant to use for modern gardens. They look wonderful, and most people could make one themselves. In this next video, you can see us making this building, both the mud walls and the thatched roof. And as you can see, it's in perfect condition today.
We're lucky enough to have lots of space, but even if I'm designing a small garden and there are children around, I like to make their own special designated area, no matter how small it is. Now I want to add something really special to this area, and I'm fascinated by things that you can build with mud, which is why I want to experiment with it by building a children's den tucked away in the corner.
To get this structure off to a good start, it needed a solid base. So with a bit of muscle and manpower, the lad soon gave it a good set of concrete boots. A brick wall would protect our mud from the damp floor, and cladding it in stone offcuts gave it that authentic look.
How much salt do we actually need then?
Meanwhile, I'd roped in the help of local mudman Anthony Goode. Anthony spent years restoring ancient buildings and seemed keen to take on this project and help me source the mud.
Wow, there's no way we can take it off this field, our field, because it's a protected site. But next door we've got a very friendly farmer, and I reckon he'd let us have some of his.
That sounds pretty good and convenient.
Very convenient. I think you should have a look at it first, make sure you like it, and then get it.
Initial impression is that it's quite a lot of cracks in the ground, which indicate a quite high clay content.
Yes.
Which is not what we want in our mud building.
Let's have a dig, shall we?
Okay. I think we could try a little bit of that.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Break that up a bit.
So we take a handful.
Yeah. And find the...
God, it feels so clay, doesn't it? Just like this.
You can see it initially in the colour, even on your hands, the yellow sort of stains coming out. If we add a little drop of water to that
Yeah.
in our hands, then and start working it into a ball.
Yeah.
You can see the clay coming out between your fingers. You can see the colour.
Yeah.
You can feel how sticky it's becoming.
You could make a pot out of this, couldn't you, almost, you know? Throw it.
Well, we're going to have to temper it down to get an acceptable mix.
Whoa, lovely stuff. We've got everything together that we need now. We've got the mud from the field, we've got the sand to temper the high clay content in the mud, we've got lime to help bind it, some barley straw to add some strength, and now we just need to add water and mix it all into the most ginormous mud pie. So your mix is?
3 portions of soil, 1 portion of sharp sand,
Yes.
2 shovelfuls of lime, with a generous sprinkling of barley straw.
It's it's like a Jamie Oliver recipe, isn't it? 1 hand of this instead of 6 ounces or exact measurements. It's all very ad hoc.
Right, we'll have to mix it now.
Get your traps on there then, Dave. It's all gonna just, isn't it?
Yeah. You want to come in this way, yeah, and then you can flatten it out. You come, and then you've got level tracking. You worry me. I would jump. Well, he obviously is fairly confident with it, isn't he?
Do you think so? Not just being brave.
At last, Anthony seemed happy with the consistency, and finally we could start building our walls.
In a minute, it'll start looking like we know what we're doing.
Just put it on like that. No.
Yeah, we need to be starting around about there, Bonnie.
There.
Because the edges are crucial. We need to have full edges, so we'll put them afterwards. Yeah, good. Yeah. Yeah, just down here a bit.
Where it's overhanging quite a bit here, I can just gently bash it back,
Yeah.
can I?
keep pushing it back with your fork.
Yeah.
And you can use this as a role model now. You can see the straws all incorporated into the mud.
Yeah.
Here it's still sticking out. Then it's now our job with the fork to get that beaten and compressed with the fork.
It's a really nice type of work, isn't it? Or not? It's
very therapeutic.
Yes. It's a bit like
if you're fit.
you don't need to go to the gym after this. You can save them on my subscription fees there.
Anthony's advice was to build up the walls by 600 millimetres a day, allowing each layer to dry out thoroughly in between. But with winter fast approaching, I was keen to push it to the limit and get as much on in one day as possible.
It's only 6 inches on that, isn't it? It's not like we're talking on another great ramp.
No,
It's that much.
you're talking me round, aren't you?
I'm talking, gently influencing your opinion. Me with my vast knowledge of mud.
Right.
My name will be mud soon if I carry on like this.
But it wasn't long before disaster struck.
Yeah, we're losing it.
It looked like I'd been proved wrong.
Well, we've had a bit of a slump, Bunny.
Oh.
We've been expecting it, haven't we?
Yes.
And now it's just happened.
So what you do then is you don't get perturbed or flustered, obviously. You just
sort of
put it back, pat it back on. And that was maybe a wet load?
I think it was just too much.
Too much.
We talked about.
And did it all go, I wish I'd seen it, did it all go in one bit move?
It's fairly spectacular, yes. Yes, it's quite a nice fall.
Yeah.
Probably at least 8 out of 10, I would have thought.
Yeah, whoa.
But the warning signs are here as far as how high we can go.
You don't think because that's a corner, that's a special case?
I think the mud's the same all the way round, and we either heed it or we don't.
So you're saying you don't want to go another 100 mil on the top?
We might be able to get that corner set up there, because that's the first corner we started at. It'll be a little bit drier than this corner.
Yeah.
We could try that.
Try doing 150 on that, yeah.
But, if another one goes, then
you'll say I told you so. Yeah.
By the end of the day, and exactly 600 millimetres later, our first section was up. Now all we had to do was wrap it up and wait patiently for it to dry out. Two weeks later, and the troops returned. And now we're up to the second layer. Anthony could begin the more intricate work.
We made some really meaty progress.
it's coming on, is it?
Coming on a storm, I should say. And I see you've smeared it nicely here. So how have you achieved that surface?
Well, we're paring it down with a mattock. Once that's done, then it's a matter of sort of getting a smoother finish, which we can do with a spade.
And they're the windows.
These are our sort of our boxes to form window openings in the mud itself. When the mud's dry, we'll knock those out, and you'll have nice sort of medieval type windows.
Like they used to fire arrows out.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That would be useful. The children will enjoy that.
Yes. Yeah.
So how much more have you got to get on there?
We've got about another 200 to 300 millimetres. You can see the white mark on the centre pole, which is somewhere about there.
A clear day in March, and our first opportunity to unwrap our mud hut. The walls had been built the previous autumn, and the structure had been wrapped up for winter before the frost could destroy it. Now was the moment of truth. Had those walls remained intact?
So how do you reckon it's fared over winter?
I think it's done remarkably well. And we don't normally build in winter time. I think it's dried out far more than what I thought it would do.
I think it's amazing. I've never seen so many mushrooms in my life. Fantastic variety. Shaggy ink caps, Jew's ears, these little things that I don't know what they are.
Well, we've certainly created an environment for the mould and all this fungi.
Yeah.
Which will die off as soon as the air gets to it, and the wind gets to it, and it dries out.
So to dry it out, I suppose the next step is to get a roof on it.
Yeah, definitely.
To build the frame for the roof, I called in local landscaper Adam Frost and my right-hand man, Dave Harrison. Between them, this pair had constructed most things, so a little mud hut roof wasn't going to cause them any problems now, was it?
Don't worry, Dave, we'll follow the line next time, won't we?
But despite clear instructions, the boys seemed to be struggling somewhat.
Right. How many of those rafters do we need? Who drew this? Yeah, see if we can phone up.
A sheet of 1-inch marine ply would spread the weight evenly across the mud walls.
Just hope it fits now, eh?
Yeah.
Right, you ready? It's going to fit?
I hope so.
We hope so. Hopefully it will, mate.
I wanted this mud hut to look enchanting, both for children and adults, so I designed a cone-shaped roof on a 45-degree pitch, not the easiest brief.
Don't break it. Don't break it. I'm very likely to cry. Oh. It's all right. Feel top of the world. Good.
Hi boys, how's it going?
Hello.
Brought you a cup of tea.
Fantastic.
Has it been problematical or has it been straightforward, easygoing?
Yeah, right.
I like the sound of this.
It's been rather complicated.
Why is
So-
that?
It's round.
Yeah, that does make all the joints and things slightly more difficult, yes. Do you feel what I feel?
Yeah.
It's starting to rain. Come on, let's get it
Wait,
wrapped up
come on.
quick.
You get up there then. It'll end up like a pile of mud in a minute.
Don't you say that.
Come down and I'll get inside because I'll be able to reach.
That one down.
All right?
It's going to take on, feels like speed, doesn't it?
The following day, the rain cleared, and with the roof completed, it was time to call on old friend and local thatcher, Roger Scanlan, to pay me a visit and give me a lesson in thatching.
Hello, Bunny. Good to see you again.
Well, this looks really nice.
Yeah, it's good straw.
This is very different straw than I used to use for my rabbits. It looks a bit longer, is it?
Oh, it's all grown especially for thatching, and it is very long, and that's why they call it long straw.
And it's also lighter, isn't it?
Yes, it's a much lighter than perhaps the sort that you get normally in the fields that tend to have a lot more chemicals on them.
I see. So you will prepare it now. What, get it in nice little bundles or something?
The bundles are called yelms, technically.
Right.
And yes, it's prepared. And when we say I will prepare it, I will show you how to prepare it.
So, with a team of willing helpers at the ready and some useful tips from an expert, we tried to make 50 bundles that met Roger's high standard.
I'm fairly proud of my bundles. What do you think?
Well, I think for a first effort bunny, they are overwhelmingly average. I think what you need to do is a little more practice in future, but I've got my lovely assistant there, Nick, that's going to kind of make them into something that we can use.
Overwhelmingly average after all my hours of hard labour. But why are we watering them now?
We're
Filling them
watering-
up?
Yeah, they're being watered to make them more pliable, so when we get to use them on the roof structure, they're more usable and they bend and become more malleable.
And am I tight enough on that one?
Yeah, that's good. I think I was putting it down for you.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say. So I couldn't claim that as all my own work.
Well, thankfully, Roger seemed to be more impressed with my thatching skills than he was with my bundle making. And after only a few hours' work, we had started to make some real progress. With the thatching half done, I decided it was time to make myself scarce, in the hope that without me as a hindrance, the boys might just get it finished before the end of the day. Without a friend in the know, thatching even a small structure can cost you several £100s. But don't be put off. A client of mine grabbed a book from the library, persevered, and thatched himself a beautiful garden structure. As Roger gave the roof its final haircut, I decided it was time to stop by to check on the progress.
Wow, Rog, this is amazing, isn't it?
Hi, Bunny. Yeah, do you like it?
Truly wonderful.
Well, we're just giving the final cut here to make sure you get a nice sharp edge against the sort of the more roughness of the body of the roof.
Oh, very neat indeed. And this beautiful work here, is it hazel?
It is hazel, yes, stolen from your garden. Sorry.
Very naughty, but I don't mind because it's been put to a very good use. And this is hazel too that you bound over it.
Yeah, they're like big staples that go in to hold it in place and keep it tight and secure to make this edge much sharper.
Fabulous. So we're all done and dusted now.
Well, just about. I've just got this final bit to cut out and I've got one little job for you to do if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, I'm worried now, very worried.
Well, we have this finial to go on the top, made of oak, and it's going to be your responsibility to climb the ladder and do the final piece.
Nice.
Can you manage that?
I think so.
I'm really big on finials. They are the icing on the cake, and the addition of this oak one was a suitably impressive finishing touch to the thatched roof. It had been a real team effort to get to this stage, with a mix of experts and willing helpers all playing their part. But as the sun set on another hard day's work, I knew it wasn't quite finished yet. Despite the scale of the project and the amount of work involved, I was really pleased with the end result. It had added a new dimension to my children's garden, and all that was needed now was for Anthony to finish the windows.
Is it a ginger job you have to do gingerly?
Yeah,
You just...
it's a bit. Otherwise, we start hitting the mud rather than the bits of wood.
I didn't want to do it, Anthony. I didn't dare. This is when we have to bring in the expert.
While Anthony got to grips with the windows, I began the clear-up operation. And with Anthony's mission successfully completed, all that was left was for me to introduce some plants. Campanulas and foxgloves would provide the perfect cottage setting. Hopefully, our beautiful mud hut will remain in our garden for my grandchildren and great-grandchildren to enjoy.